So welcome to part 2 of this video. Here we're going to address part C, which asks what percent of the time does the company make between $15,000 and $25,000. So we're going to go over here and look at our normal curve, and we've labeled our mu of 20,300, and we know that our let's label that here, our from this piece here from our first video, we remember 20,300 is our mu, and our standard deviation of 3,200. And we're going to use that to answer this question. So let's label this 20,300, and then our standard deviation is 3,200. So the question is, well, what percent of the time is it between 15,000 and 25,000? So I've labeled the curve here. We have our mean, and then when we apply the standard deviation at one standard deviation, we're 23.5 and so forth. And when we look at 15,000 and 25,000, we notice that both of these points lie in between standard deviations. So how do we go about solving? The question is, well, if we look here at our curve, we're interested in the area under the curve here. All of this area from 15,000 to 25,000. What percent of the data does that area encompass? What percent out of 100 is under the curve from 15,000 to 25,000? Well, the short answer to that, and I'm going to explain the longer answer in another video, but the short answer to that is simply to find the z-curve, or not curve, but z-score at 25,000, which tells you, well, that can give you the percent of the time that you would make above and below, and then also find the z-score of 15,000, and then just find the difference between those. So we're going to write that out here. We would just take the z-score of 25,000 and subtract from that, because 15,000 will be a smaller one, the z-score of 15,000. And when you find the difference between those percentages, once you apply the z-score, you get the z-score, you apply it to the z-score table, and then you subtract the percentages. So z-score, we'll say as a percent, and then we subtract those, and we'll get our final percent that tells us the answer here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's find, we see that the 25,000 is going to be above, it's going to be above the mean, so that's going to give us a positive z-score. So let's do that one first. So our z-score of 25,000, we know that the formula is the data minus the mu over our standard deviation is going to be 25,000 is the data point. The mu was 20,300, and we divide that by our standard deviation of 3,200. And that gives us, once we work that out, that gives us approximately 1.47, which is at the intersection of 1.4 and 0.07. So we come to our chart here, look for 1.4, look for 0.07, find the intersection of those, and we get 0.9292. So 0.9292 as a percentage is 92.92%, telling us that when they make $25,000 as a company, that is in the 92nd percentile, meaning 92.92% of the time they make less, and then only 7.08% of the time are they going to make more than that. So we can go back and fill in the 92.92%. And then let's find out our z-score for 15,000. And we know that's going to be a negative because it's below the mean. So our z-score is going to be the data point 15,000 minus the mean of 20,300 divided by my standard deviation of 3,200. And that is going to give us approximately negative 1.66, which is going to be at the intersection of negative 1.6 and 0.06. So we come over, find negative 1.6 and 0.06, and find that intersection. And we have 0.0485, which as a percentage is going to be, you move the decimal places 2 places, 4.85%. So that's on the lower end. So only 4.85% of the time are they going to make less than this. So let's go ahead and go back. So we'll subtract out the 4.85%. So here we have 4.85%, meaning 4.85% is to the left of this. And then here at 25 is 92.92, which is below the curve. So in order to get the in-between, we subtract the difference, right? We're going to subtract out this piece of 4.85 from the 92.92, which, as we do that, is going to give us 88.07%, which is our final answer to the question, what percent of the time does the company make between? Well, that is 88.07% of the time they make in between 15,000 and 25,000.